We will go ahead and get started with introductions. I'm sure a few extra folks might call in while we're doing that. Welcome to our Sentricon System Reporting Strategies webinar. My name is Jessi Allen, and I am the business analyst for the Sentricon business here at Corteva Agriscience. We also have Jodi Dalton, who is on the call and will be participating today, and Jodi is our customer support specialist for the Sentricon business. And today we are going to spend some time talking to you about the various intricacies of the Sentricon system web's pages. So you can access these pages in a variety of ways. And today we're going to look at specifically the Sentricon site page, renewal page, communication page, and if we have time at the end, we're going to do a live demo of some custom reports. If you have questions at the bottom of your screen, you should be able to see a Q&A little tab, and you can type your question in there. Jodi and I will take turns answering those as we go and stopping to address questions as well. So feel free to enter questions as the presentation is going. You don't have to wait until the end, and you will not be able to come off mute in this presentation. If we don't have time to get to your question, we will be able to email you a response afterwards. All right, so let's dive in here. So you will often hear maybe your Corteva territory manager or our support team talk about a system called SWS. That stands for Sentricon Web Services. And those are the Sentricon pages in a embedded in your software system. And so today's presentation is going to talk about the specifics of that integration in the various software systems on the screen. If you don't use the software that is on this screen, this webinar might not be of the most use for you. This is about the specifics of our integration with these partners. So the IT partner that you are using to manage your day-to-day pest control activities is going to be one of these on the screen, and we consider this your system of record. So the way that these embedded pages work is you are doing your day-to-day work with your termite baiting in your software system, and then our system, which is Sentricon Web Services, has a secure connection into your IT choice, and we are getting a copy of the work that you are doing. And so we always consider your software to be the system of record for pieces of information about when you did the install, who the customer is, when it was serviced. We don't actually generate any of that data. We are getting a copy of the work you are doing in your pest partner into our screens for the Sentricon Web Services, which are primarily there for invoicing you for your Sentricon work. And the way that this flows over is through these series of, they're called APIs, integrations. And it's like having a secure connection into the Corteva Sentricon database. So we get a copy of work orders, site details, changes that you make, and these APIs, if all is going according to plan, should be keeping our data in live sync. So if you move a site from one customer to another, we should see that. If you move a branch, so a site goes from branch A to branch B, we should be getting a copy of those changes over into our system. It pulls through onto our Sentricon SWS pages, which reflect our database and our understanding of your Sentricon. But the root starting place is always your own software. Some common issues we've seen come up in the last year are challenges with duplicate sites being made. This is driven primarily through work being done in your software. Unless there is an actual IT failure of some kind, which has not been the case in these examples, if you are seeing duplicate sites, so 2 of an install on your communication page or 2 of the same site on your renewal page, That is because two sites were made in your software that was communicated over to Corteva. So anytime a new Sentricon, and these, what our IT partners call them is different. So in ServSuite, I think it's called a program. In PestPack, it's a setup. In Field Routes, it's a subscription. Every time a new program setup subscription service is made on a customer, it is going to make a new Sentricon site on our side. Our system can't tell if you were just trying to replace an old site. Anytime a new program is set up, it will make a new site in the Sentricon invoicing page as an install. And when a work order is completed on this new site, we will think that is an install. And excuse me. And so anytime that happens, you will be billed an invoice or an install on your invoice. Sometimes this is occurring when you want to make a new setup type. So say someone has standalone Sentricon and they buy a bundled package. When a new bundled package that includes Sentricon is added to that customer, we will see that as a new Sentricon site instead of editing the original site that they have to make it into a bundle. Another thing we've seen in the last year that's caused some issues is a new program type is created that is not properly flagged as Sentricon in the IT partner. And that means that our system can't see it to pick it up and invoice it. So the sites are not being made in our system. If you have questions about how to enable a service in your software for Sentricon, those need to go to your IT partner because it's different in every software how that occurs. Our team can't provide direction on how to enable like a lookup table in PestPack or a subscription or program in Field Routes or ServSuite or any of the other systems. You need to go to that IT partner for that. The third thing that's caused some confusion this year is what happens when a new homeowner takes over a property. So if I have Sentricon at my house and I move, and the new homeowner is going to take over the Sentricon, company policy and software type dictate how this should be handled. And you can either create a new customer and a new site, or in some softwares, we're attaching the existing site to a new customer. It's within your company's scope how you want to handle this, but from a Corteva perspective, if you're making a new customer and a new site, you need to make sure you also inactivate the original site so you don't get double billed for renewals. All right. So this should be a page that looks familiar to you if you are using Sentricon Web Services. This page is where you enter the invoice details, and we call this the Sentricon site page. Jodi is going to go into some more specifics about this page, but I wanted to call out what we are gathering from this integration with your IT partner. So everything highlighted on this page in red is coming into our system from your customer and your service for Sentricon. So we are gathering what branch we think this site should be on, the site number, customer number, name, address, when the install was completed, if there's a route, the last service date, all of that information is coming over this integration to us. So you are not manually typing this in on this page. Depending on the integration you have, we also sometimes can display the contact information and the station listing here as well. And again, all this information is coming over that integration. You shouldn't be having to type any of this information into our pages. It should be getting filled in automatically. Oops, I'm doing my advance wrong here. So the green boxes here are pieces of information that are specific to Sentricon that are not coming over the integration. So the product type, which is always active now, that's the only product we have is always active. That's the bait type. The install type, which there are multiple install types that drive your invoicing with Corteva. and then the linear feet of the structure. These three items drive what type of invoiced install you are going to be invoiced for, and they are specific to Sentricon and the pieces of information that you are entering directly onto our pages. Typically, these three pieces of information are not found in your IT partner's report writer. These live in our database because they're specific to the Sentricon invoicing. And your Sentricon anniversary date also is specific to your relationship with Corteva. This is when Corteva thinks we need to invoice you for the renewal service. It will not necessarily match your renewal date with your customer because your customer's renewal date would reflect when you're invoicing that customer or your contract date. This defaults to 1 year after the install date from a Corteva perspective and reflects your renewals between Corteva and yourself for this site, not your homeowner payment for this information. Okay, before we get started, Jodi, were there any questions in the chat on those items that I should address?
Yes, we
Okay.
do have one question. If the program is taking the information from my system, why does new service is that's added for an install the following month show as an unreported site for the month it was entered?
So an unreported site means that for one reason or another, we have not received a work order completion for that install. And depending on the software type, how and when we get that work order completion is different. And usually for most of our partners, there is a specific order that the steps need to take for the install to trigger the order completion for us. So the way that this usually flows is the site is created. So we see you add a Sentricon service or program to a customer. That automatically makes the site on our side. And then sometime in the coming days or even up to 2 weeks, your technician is going to go out and physically complete that service. And when they physically complete the service, typically in the mobile app, then we are getting a data call that says this service had a work order completed on this day. And we grab that as the install date. If you're having chronic issues with that work order getting completed, I would ask your IT partner to review the steps that you're taking on that completion because how that comes over to us is usually owned by the IT partner because they can advise you on if the order isn't properly attaching for some reason. In field routes in the past, there's been specific challenges we've had where if the appointment is completed before the subscription was added to the customer, we wouldn't receive that work order. In PestPack, we've had challenges where if you have multiple branches and you're adding the site on one branch and completing the work order in a different branch, that there's a proper order those things need to take place for us to get that install date. So if you're having a chronic issue there, I would first reach out to your IT Alliance partner. If they are not giving you the help that you need, you can submit a support request in our customer care tool, which we have the information for later in the presentation. Anything else, Jodi?
We did get another question about renewals, but I'm going to hold off answering it until we do the renewal section.
Perfect. Okay, so Jodi's going to take over here on the Sentricon site information page. So Jodi, I'll let you advance your own slides at your own pace.
Okay.
And I will monitor the questions.
Perfect. All right, so staying with the Sentricon site information page. On the site information page, there is actually a lot of great information that you can see for a specific site. One thing I want to point out is you are able to renew or unrenew a site from the site page. If for some reason you happen to be on there and you see it needs to be renewed, You can click renew here and then save changes at the top. But more importantly, there are tabs down at the bottom left-hand corner that you can click on and get some really great information. For example, the cancellation tab. On this tab, if you click cancellation and then view history, you can see anytime this site was canceled. You can see the reason, the date it was canceled, and who entered it. For audit history, the audit history tab, this will show you any transaction or anything that was done to this site. For example, you can see the installation dates. You can see when the site was canceled. You can see when the site was renewed. Cancellations are going to show you as the previous value was no and was changed to yes. That will tell you that it was reactivated. If you look at the one status where the previous value was yes and then changed to no, that tells you that site had been canceled. The invoice history, if you click invoice history and then view history, this will tell you anytime that site was communicated to Corteva for an invoicing event. For example, if you look over at the invoice history, you can see when it was communicated to us for an installation, for a renewal, and a reactivation. Now jumping forward to renewals. There are two most common ways for you to go in and select your renewals or even to view your renewals. The first option is by going to the actual renewal page. And on this page, you will see, it'll show you how many sites are awaiting renewed. And it will also show you in red how many sites are 6 months past due. You can also click on the site number. It's got a blue link to it. That will take you directly to that site. If for some reason you think, you know what, I just renewed this one, or, when was the last time I renewed this one? You can click on that blue link. You can go to the invoice history. You can see the last time that site was communicated to us for a renewal, just to kind of help you out and let you know which sites might need to be renewed. On the renewed box, you'll want to check which box. If you want to go down and select specific sites, you can click the renewed box, or you can go ahead and click select all at the top, and that will go down and select all of them. And then you'll want to click save renewed. Option 2, and this might be more common for everyone. When you're on your communication page, you can click the renewal list box up at the top, and that will take you to the renewal list. And then again, you can go ahead and click each individual renewal, click select all, but whatever you do, make sure you click saved renewed. Now, let's say for some reason, you clicked too many, or maybe there was a site on there that you marked as a renewal and you changed your mind because the customer changed their mind or they didn't pay or whatever the situation may be. You can go to your renewal list, click renewed up at the top. It will take you to a page where it will show you every site that is on your communication page to be renewed. You can either click select all and unrenew all of them, or you can select each individual box on the side, and then you'll want to click saved unrenewed. One big enhancement that we have added, and this is upon request, on your renewal page, we have added the option for you to make a note for a specific site. And the way that's done is you can put in a request at Sentricon Customer Care, let them know that you want to add the note function in your renewals. And what happens is when we turn it on for you, you'll click on the dot next to the site. You'll then see a small box that will pop up, and you can add a note in there. Maybe you want to say, customer contacted me and they're going to renew next month, or, whatever information you want to put in there. You'll click the OK button, and what will happen is the dot under the note section will appear green. So that way, when you go back in, you'll be able to see, oh, there's a note, and you or your team will know what that note says. Another great enhancement that we did is you now have the ability to change your own SAD dates. A SAD date change can be made one time for the whole lifetime of that site. So that means if you change it today and you want to go a month later or a year later to change it, you're not going to be able to change it again. You are able to adjust it 5 months back or 7 months forward. Any questions?
There was the question touching on renewals and how to see the upcoming renewals. So I will review how to look at those in the live demo, Jodi, to pull a
Okay,
report to see upcoming anniversary dates.
perfect. Okay, so continuing on, we're going to talk about our monthly communications. When you go to the communication page, if you look under the notification center, it will give you kind of like some little updated notes or messages that we are trying to say to you. On this one, you can see that it's due to communicate, and you also see the red, the red font. And this is not a hard stop, just to let you know. It's basically just stating that there is a site on your communication page that exceeds 1,000 linear feet. It's just a soft kind of like message to let you know to review it. Also on your communication page, we have separated categories for each invoicing type. All of your installations are going to be together. Any kind of linear footage adjustment that you have made will be together, and then your renewals will be together as well. At the bottom of your communication page, you'll see a section that is business information. On the business information, you will see for waiting renewals, it's going to be the number of sites that are due for renewal for that month. Cancellations are going to be how many sites you've canceled that month. And then your service excellence section, excuse me, the past due service, this basically tells us that there has not been any kind of inspection reported or performed and submitted into the system for that site. So like on this one, it says past due service 368. Obviously, this is just a test branch, but you may see one or two, and that just means that we don't have any information showing that an inspection was made. For unreported installations, those are the unreported sites that we currently have. If there's ever a time where you want to go back and you want to see, maybe last month you reported a site, or you want to see, you got your invoice and you're trying to look to match it up, you can always go into your communication page, go to the reporting period, and click the down arrow. You can select whatever month and year it is that you're looking for, and then click find, and it will pull up all of the data that you communicated for that month. So a couple of important things to know about the monthly communication. They are due by the 5th business day of the month. You can only report your data one time per month. So say, for example, you forget to add your renewals. We can't go in and change it. You'll have to report those the next month. Um, and then, so number three, once information's been submitted, it can't be changed. I want to touch base on that one for just one quick second. We've had a lot of questions come up recently where a site is needing to be reactivated. And when you go in, you click reactivate, but then when you look at it later, it still shows the original installation type. Once an installation type has been submitted to us on the communication page, it can't be changed. If you go to the communication page, though, you will see it is on there showing as a reactivation. I know that can be kind of confusing. So if you have questions, by all means, please let us know. I'm happy to explain it in a different way. And then if you have any issues or submitted data in error or you have questions, you can always go to our Sentricon customer care portal. And one last quick enhancement that I want to discuss is on the communication page, we have added the install code. And what that means is whatever you call your installations or your codes in your system now show up on our communication page as a way to also help you kind of be able to, I guess, do a check and balance to see what it was that you reported and what it was that you were charged for. Any
Jodi.
questions?
I've answered the questions in the chat. A few of the items are things I think will make sense to review during the demo about how to pull certain kinds of reports. So I think you're good so far. A few other enhancements we just wanted to review before we get to the demo portion. Let's see. Okay, so one of these is improvements to our report writer. I'm going to go over the report writer today. I think a lot of our customers don't realize we actually have a Sentricon report writer where you can pull custom reports. It is difficult to access though. I did pull up a screenshot here specific to PestPack because I think often our PestPack users have a hard time finding the Sentricon reports because they are not listed with the rest of the Sentricon tools. So in PestPack, you need to navigate to all reports and your Sentricon reporting portal is at the very bottom of the screen. In field routes, if you go to the Sentricon UI pages, the Sentricon reports should be just one of the tabs in the Sentricon UI pages. I'm not familiar where they are with all of our partners, but if you aren't sure how to find the screenshots I'm going to show in the portion for the live demo, you can submit a request in customer care and we can help you find it, or you can reach out to your IT partner and ask where the Sentricon reporting page lives in your software. So today, the Sentricon reporting portal, which I'm going to show you in a minute, pushes you outside of our integration. So you would be pushed into a browser outside of your current software system, and you have to know these Sentricon specific pieces of information like your username, password, and company key. But your username for us is not the username you log in to your system with. It's usually something passed over the integration that has, like in PestPack, it's your company key and your username. In field routes, it's your database name and a generic user ID. So people have a very hard time logging into these pages. So in the coming month or so, these reports that I'm going to show you, this is from our test database right now, but these reports and the ability to pull custom reports will just live at the top of our report landing page. So you no longer have to access them in a separate space. So the view you're going to get today is how it is today, but going forward, it'll all be on one page and you won't get pushed outside of your IT system. So you don't have to try to figure out a specific login, which is very exciting. I think will help users here. The other item here, which you might have seen, is the link for our customer care site is now on all of our pages. What we were finding is that often, especially if there was turnover in the admin role, that some admins and new admins didn't know how to enter a customer care request for us. So now on all of our pages, it says Ask Sam for help. So Sentricon Sam, that's our persona of our support team. And you can click that link and it will direct you out to our customer care site where anyone can make a login and submit questions about Sentricon. We also have made some updates to our workflow here to make it more user friendly, where we have the where you can see I am a customer and you can click the various options that you need support for. We have a knowledge base where we're working to link training materials for each of our partners, as well as links to other common Sentricon places that you need to go to order product materials, the payment portal. You're not sure who your territory manager is. We have a map for that. And the website here is customercare.sentricon.com. And so in that system, you can get direct access to our support team instead of going through your territory manager, if that's easier for you. And I'm going to switch over now to the live demo. Okay, so let me share my screen. Okay, so as I was saying, how you access this page is different in all the various partners we have. So it's typically called the Sentricon Reports, Sentricon Reporting Page, Reporting and Analytics. Like I said, in PestPack, you have to navigate down to all reports, and it's at the very bottom, Sentricon Reports. In Field Routes, I think it's in the Sentricon UI pages. But this page is accessible to you in the different integrations. One thing I really like about these reports is that you can pick, if you're a company that has multiple branches, you can pick all of your branches to run these reports for. So if you're otherwise using those communication pages or renewal pages that Jodi was showing, you have to export those pages one at a time. But here you could pull a report for every branch at your company. These are all test databases and branches. Just want to be clear, we're not showing any customers' data here. And let me look at the chat really quick before I dive in to make sure there weren't any other questions. I know we wanted to look at future renewals, unreported sites. Okay, and a user permissions question. Okay, so again, this reporting page, how this is different than the reports that you are pulling from your IT system is these are reports from our Sentricon database. So this reflects Corteva's understanding of your work with your Sentricon customers based on the items we get from the integration. The data that you can find in these reports that is not easy to find in your IT partner software are the specifics to Sentricon invoicing. So install type, linear feet, product type, status of branch submission. So if you're a company that has multiple branches and you aren't sure if all the branches are communicating in a timely fashion, there's a report down here for that. There's reports for user credentials. So I'm going to run down this list in a minute, but just to set the stage, what we're looking at here is reports being run against Corteva's Sentricon database. So you're not going to find information here about your payment status with your customer, or we don't collect any information about your invoicing to your customer. So that information is here. Unfortunately, this system also doesn't have connection to Corteva's invoicing portal. So you can't find your invoice numbers here, but you can find the periods that the submissions were sent. So I'm going to click just for testing purposes because I'm not sure what exactly is in these branches. I'm going to click all three branches here and click OK. And first, I'm just going to run down what's here. So if you are scanning stations, there are a variety of station reports here that Corteva should be collecting over the integration, the station data. Again, we always want you, though, to think about your system as the system of record, especially for station data. We only get this information if it passes through your system first. And so sometimes station data can get out of sync because we're talking about millions and millions and millions of active Sentricon stations out in the US. And so occasionally our service date may not reflect your service date for a variety of reasons. We're keeping millions of stations in sync. And so you should default to your system of record first for station data, but we do have a copy. We can look at site level cancellations by branch, installs by branch, incomplete site inspections. So that's like, say, not every station got checked for some reason. Technician productivity reports and Sentricon monthly standings. Again, this is our interpretation of the service data we're getting from your software. Sites by station type. So I will say this has been very helpful to some of our customers. Let me click on this one. All of these reports typically can be run in PDF or Excel. And one thing some of our customers have found useful for this that have multiple branches is you can actually select the type of station that you want to see. And if you're wondering, for example, I want to see all my sites that currently have an active above ground station scanned in, you can click above ground here. This is a test database, so I'm not sure we have station data in here, but so you click the reports you want, it queues, and then it'll stay in this queue for 3 days as is, and then it'll delete. But if I click sites by station type, it's going to download here. I can open my report. Oh, it's opening over here on the other screen, of course. It's telling me which branches I ran the report for, what station type I selected, and then it's pulling in for me the site data where these stations are currently housed. And so if you are not sure, you want to know all your curative sites where a technician put up an above ground station. This is one report I haven't seen someone easily be able to run out of one of their partner softwares, but they can easily run in ours. So it gives you the information here for that. And then some of these other ones, someone asked, how do I run an unreported sites list? That is right here. So unreported sites. Personally, I like to run everything in Excel, but you can run it in PDF if that's your preference. I do want to touch on the definition of an unreported site. So we know that it is not a common occurrence that you're going to create a site in your software and install it the same day. So we don't consider a site as unreported until it's been more than 30 days since the site was created in the software and we have seen no install occur, because typically most companies are running production in the month they're doing the work. And so if it's been more than 30 days since Sentricon Web Services saw the site created with no captured install date, we surface it up to this report thinking maybe the homeowner canceled and we never got it actually put in the ground and it just needs to be inactivated. Maybe the order was completed under the wrong service or something like that. I see that there's a question in here about canceling an active site, so I'm going to answer that live as well in a minute. So with unreported sites, if I click Excel, I'm going to download that next. So you can see it's going to save my queued report here. I can also delete that and say I'm not interested in that report anymore. So if I pull down unreported. We got a lot of unreported sites in our test branches here to look at. So, I know there was a complicated Briostat question about if I make a site, I create a site March 15th, and the install is April 3rd. There should be no reason you have to do anything with that. We're just going to wait until we see that site come in April 3rd. And the way that Corteva would capture that would be you would see it standing out there as a pending install under unreported sites. So on the bottom of your communication page, you'll see it. Actually, it wouldn't even show up there because it's not more than 30 days old. So we wouldn't consider it an unreported site until it's 30 days old. If you make a site and it immediately pops up as an unreported site, that might be something where your branch defaults are messed up on our side and you could submit a support request about that. I think that was Diane who was entering those questions. Um, Diane, you might want to submit a support request so we can look at what's going on with you with that BrioStack unreported sites question in more detail where we can actually talk to you. You're muted on this webinar. So here's a list of how this pulls down. So you can see the create date is when we saw the site made in your software. How many days it's been unreported, the linear feet, install type, product type, all the kind of normal information here about the customer number, site number, name, address, city, state. And there's two ways to fix an unreported site. So you don't have the ability to manually type in an install date because we're supposed to be getting these in this automated fashion over a work order completion. So you can either ask your IT Alliance partner to help you recomplete the work order so that we get the date or investigate why we didn't get the date. Our team, our customer support team, does have the ability to manually enter the date for you and complete that work order. So if you just have a couple of these and it's not worth investigating, it's not some big chronic issue, you can submit a support request asking us to enter the dates for these sites. We will enter it, it saves, it'll populate on your communication page for invoicing, and it's a pretty easy fix. If you are seeing data pop up here frequently that shouldn't be, then you're going to want to ask your IT Alliance partner for help and or submit a support request for us that we can see if there's something else going on. So that's where we see those unreported sites right there, this page. And again, this is not a number or a report you're going to find in your IT software because this is specific to Sentricon invoicing. So you're not going to find a report called unreported Sentricon sites anywhere but on this page from us. Another report that I personally really like is active sites. The reason I like this is because this will give you all of your information about every one of your Sentricon sites pulled into a convenient Excel file. So someone asked the question, how can I see future dated renewals? So I want to see all my renewals that are coming up in April or May. If you're looking to get like a list of that, if we pull down this active sites report, it's going to show you, this is one way you could do that. Depending on how big your company is, this may or may not be the best way to do that. If you've got thousands of sites, pulling down every site just to see who's due for renewal in April might be annoying. But this is everything that Corteva thinks is active in your branch. So if we pull that down, you'll start to see there's kind of a standard format to how these pull down. So it tells us what we think we pulled, active sites for these branches. And then typically it starts with the branch information, customer, site, name, address, and install type, linear feet, install date. This is also going to pull in those unreported sites. So for example, these ones with no install date or anniversary date are unreported. If there's no install date, it's never been invoiced for install from Corteva. So you can get this, and then if you want to, you can highlight these rows, go up here and add a filter. And now I can look at, maybe I want to see just new construction installs or Let me clear my filter. Maybe I want to see anniversary dates just in April 25. So things that are April 25, or I want to see the future dated ones. This is one way to do that. Save that. I want to get to the custom reporting portal before we run out of time. So I'm just going to list kind of what some of these others are. So you can look at your sites by linear feet. Maybe you want to run a report to see anything that's over 400 linear feet because that's where Corteva is changing or invoicing changes. So maybe you want to see anything 400 and above to look for your large properties. Sites past due means the physical inspection is greater than 12 months, not payment to Corteva for the renewal or a past due balance. This is about the physical inspection of those properties. Here's a great way to run all your awaiting renewals. Now, again, this is the past dated renewals. This is not the upcoming renewals. But if you're a company that has multiple branches, this is how you can get that awaiting renewal list looking at all your branches on one report. Actually, I've never tried to run this as a future date report. Let's see if it does it. Go away dates. Okay. I'm not sure it'll pull a future date, but we'll see. I better make this to December because I'm not sure if we have any specifically in this branch. Let's see if it does it. Oh, okay. So you can do it this way. I didn't know you could pull future dated renewals from this awaiting renewal list, but I put in April 26 to December and it pulled all my sites with anniversary dates, April to December 2026. Look, we're all learning together. Who knew? So that would be one way to pull your future dated or upcoming renewals. The last two I want to talk about here before we flip over to custom reports is last communicated will show you when the branches that you have permission to view last submitted their Sentricon data. So if you are an office manager who is over several branches and you want to make sure they're doing this activity in the first 5 business days of the month, this report will tell you the last time your branches communicated. So we've got our example here, the last time we saw a monthly submission from these branches. And then the other one that has been very helpful for some of our customers is this report, sites with duplicate barcodes, is helping us QA site data. If you are submitting station data, this will look across all the sites in your branch to see if there are duplicate barcodes because every barcode for every top cap and bait device is unique. And so we shouldn't see the same top cap pop up on multiple properties. But occasionally a technician will carry a top cap around in their pocket if they can't find a station and scan it just to close out the service or the stop. And this will look for those duplicate barcodes across an entire branch on your active sites. So this one has been a popular QA report. Now I'm going to pull up our Sentricon report writer. Moving forward after this month, these will now just appear as reports at the top of this page. So you're not going to have to take this external step like I just did that pushes you out to another browser. But what this does, let me stop and make sure there's any other questions in here. Looks like Jodi's been answering those. Okay. So this tool, I think, is so valuable, and most of our customers don't seem to know we have it. So we're going to talk about it a lot in 2026. This allows you to pull in reporting customized however you want to see the data for your branches. And every one of these you pick is essentially picking a column on an Excel file that it'll push out. So I think I want to pick Sentricon testing as the branch, but maybe I'll just hold control and pick all three. And this is letting you write a custom report of your Sentricon data. So you can say, I want to see the customer number. I want to see the site number, address, city, state. Also, all of these are editable. So if you want to look for data in a specific state, maybe you are a company that has branches on a state line and you want to see all your Sentricon installs in the state of Virginia only, even though you've got branches all over the place. You could pick a specific state here and pull it in. You could look for a specific last name if you wanted to for some reason, like maybe you're trying to find a specific customer. You could type in, a site number here if you're looking for something specific. Otherwise, it's just going to pull in everything with this data. So this first tab here is called site. So this is querying all the site data we have for this branch. You can also name it and save this report for later and say, I want to run this all the time. I'm going to come in here every week and do it or whatever. You can name it and save it. They all default to only pull in active sites, but you can uncheck this if you want to look at all your inactive sites for some reason. You can do that. You can say, I want to see everything within a certain linear foot range. So maybe I want to add linear feet, and maybe I also want to add install type because we've got all of our various install types here. So maybe I only want to see existing customer installs. You can add install date, search a certain date range. You can add anniversary date, search a certain range for that. Create dates, service dates, technician name. You can pull in, there's even more fields down here you can add if you want. And you can add create dates or modification dates, sites created by a certain user at your company. So you can pick to your heart's content how many of these filters you want to look at. When I click run, now this is pulling in all the data that our database had relevant to the fields that I picked. And then I can export this to Excel or XML. I'm going to export it to Excel here. And now I'm looking at all of my existing customer installs that are still active across all time in these branches. And so our database keeps a record of all this data because it's your data that we have a copy of. And I can look back and look for trends in my data and say, oh gosh, 3 years ago, I was doing 100 existing customer installs, and this year I've only done 30. Is something off pace with my sales team at different pieces of information like that. And you can also look, again, we've got our install dates and anniversary dates here, site numbers, all kinds of information. If I go back, our station report is the same. You can build all kinds of information here. If you're looking for like a specific barcode for some reason, you can even type that in here, station barcode, and it'll look for that barcode in your entire data set. And then the last one with the last 5 minutes here I want to look at is our communication page. So this is your invoice information that you are sending every month to Corteva. So if I flip-flop back here to the page you're used to seeing, this is the Sentricon communication page. And if you want to see what did I do last month, you can click these drop downs and go back to another period and export to Excel. If, for example, you're wanting to pull down all your Sentricon invoicing for all of 2025, it would be very time consuming to go export 12 of these individual files. Instead, you can come to this communication report and pull down an entire year or 6 months or some period well back in time and pull in specific pieces of information. So if we go here, reporting period is this March 2026 would be March installs for April invoicing. So if I come back, say I want to do January 25 to December 25, and I can add reporting period here in my report so I know which piece of information that pulled in. I also personally like to add communication date because this reflects the day that you submitted the data to Corteva. So this should be the same date on your invoice. If you're trying to match up specific invoices to this data, communication date would be the day the invoice was generated and emailed. You can pull in event type here. Say you only want to see installs that were communicated, renewals, conversion, reactivation. Typically, I just highlight them all and put them all in the report. So I want to see what type of event it was, and I want to see the site number, last name, and address. And maybe I also want to see the invoice information. So the install type and the install date and the linear feet. So if I run this, the zeros that pop up at the top here represent what is waiting on my communication page to be sent. So the next time I hit approve and send on this button, this is what's out there today, sitting on all of my communication pages. But if I go forward, I'm going to start seeing reporting month 09/2025. It was communicated 10/30/2025. So that would be the date on my invoice that I get emailed. And then event type are the invoiceable items that occurred under that. So these are installs. I can see the install type, install date, linear feet. And as I move forward here, I can see some linear foot adjustments, reactivations, renewals. And again, I can also export this to Excel. So if for some reason I'm trying to match up all of 2025's invoicing or compare the books or anything like that, you can pull down all of this site level data that drove your Corteva invoices for as far back typically as you would like to see it. So we've got our information here. Again, if I enable editing, I can put a filter on here and I can look specifically to the communication dates I have here to match it up to specific invoices. And again, these zeros are what's waiting on my communication page today. So if I'm not interested in what's currently open, I can just delete these rows. And now I have all of my historical communication here. So I know we're coming right up on time. Let me look at the questions. Oh, how do you cancel an active site? I forgot about that one. Typically, sites need to be canceled in the partner software and it comes over the data integration to us. So that is done like in field routes by freezing the subscription. In PestPack, it's done by unchecking the active box when you edit the setup. So if you have questions about how to cancel a site, we could better answer that if we knew your software system. It looks like I think you use PestPack based on your second comment. Regina asked this question. And so in PestPack, you would do that by going into the setup, clicking edit, scrolling down to the middle of the page where there's a box that says active that has a check in it. When you uncheck that box and save, it should cancel the site on our side. PestPack cannot help. Can you tell me how to input a support request, please? Okay, PestPack shows it as inactive, but it's still on the renewal list. In that case, you would want to submit a support request to us because we will inactivate it on our side. Occasionally, we do see this happen in PestPack where the setup gets inactivated and it does not come over to us because, again, we're always getting a copy, this like one-way data flow out of PestPack into our system. And so if you submit a support request, we can do that. So what you need to do to submit the support request is go to http.com or http/customercare.sentricon.com. We'll put it in the chat. Let me type it here for you. If you've never submitted a support request before, there's a sign up button on that page, and you can just sign up and then submit a request to us that way. If you're having additional answer or questions on that, you can reach out to your Sentricon territory manager, or we can send an email with those instructions after the webinar here. All right, I think we are done out of time today. We've answered all the questions in the chat. We appreciate your time in joining our webinar this morning. We are doing this webinar again on March 24th. If you have additional team members you think this would be valuable for, who'd like to join in and hear the content again, March 24th, we'll be doing that again. So thank you for your time.